guess you could consider it wireframes, and it's a big jump when you go from looking at a spreadsheet and boxes on a diagram to seeing it and navigating. So if you can just put aside, it is absolutely no effort spent on trying to make it look good, and only the absolute minimum functionality to try and give the experience of the different roles. So there are these 4 roles in here. So for the sake of demo, you can click on one of these and it will set the right username and password, so you log in. So I'll start with SuperAdmin and then we'll look at the generator. And then, so SuperAdmin, this is only for setup, and the reason you need this at the beginning of the project is because in the beginning there are no users and there are nothing in the database. So you need to create a SuperAdmin just to bootstrap it up. So there's one WAF in the system called Acme Waste, and you can create more in here. And these are the skeleton details, just so that we've got something to talk about and look at when we talk about WAFs. And there is one generator in the system here. It doesn't make any sense that the admin would create generators. However, we need it for bootstrapping, so this will probably go, but we needed it to start with. And system setup, it's basically taking the spreadsheet and putting in the values that are in the drop-down lists. So this is how you maintain the drop-down list. So you can add, delete, and edit them in here. So that's in order to set the system up. Now, if we go back to the demo page, so we log out of being the admin and we log into go back to the demo page. So this helps me a lot because it makes me test the database design and it tests the relationships. So now I log in as a generator because we've already got one facility in there, so I can apply for a permit. So I'll log in as a generator. So this page would evolve into being the sign-up page. So for sure, I'm pretty sure generators would sign themselves up. Facilities, we might want to have, do that as a SuperAdmin. So there are 3 permits in progress. That's the permit ID, that's the applicant, that's the facility, this is about the materials. So I'm kind of making guesses as to what the information hierarchy is at this level. What is it you want to see? And you can share as the idea is that's how we would get the permit to Truckies. So if you click on one of the permits, we can see the status is started, permit reference, and only some of these are actually, this is all just a mock-up, so they're not actually wired up to the database, only a few of them. But you can, here's the contaminants, so you're choosing a contaminant, and select materials type. So I'm just kind of working off the spreadsheet, and these are auto-saving, so you don't have to press a save. It's like the way Google works. You don't have to go change, save, it just auto-saves. So we've edited the permits. I'm editing this permit, my permits, and here's my list of permits. And after I've edited the permit, let's create a new one. So we're pulling in the details of the generator, default details, so I'm happy with those. Create a new permit, and I'll start going through all these details. So there's probably a load of validation which needs to happen in here. So you must have a material type. I mean, I imagine most of these fields are required. you go through all of this, and I think there'll be a ton of validation on this to make sure that, to steer the user through, making sure they, you have to tick this. There'll be rules around it. This maybe container number's not required, and driver name's not required, but maybe registration is a required field. These are things we can think about next. And you can cancel and delete, which is super handy during testing. And if we go back, and we're back into Alistair permits. So that's the sort of experience for a generator, just creating permits and filling them out completely. Now we'll log out of being a generator and go into being a facility. And I'll give you the URLs for these so you can have a play. So now as a generator, I've logged out of being a generator. I'm now I'll go now into being a facility. And a facility looks like this. So this is the to and froing in the diagram of getting the permit correct. And then going through that life cycle of started, accepted, delivered type of things. So here's me as the facilities manager. I look at this area the permits in. I'll look through and say, oh, here's all the started permits, the ones which have been submitted because they've gone through the validation and the details are correct. I can go in here, and it's not finished yet, and it's all a bit of a mess. So we'll get out of there, and I set the status of accepted, and then the process moves on. So, and there's also the regulator can log in, and they just see a view by facility of all the permits. But is wireframes. The idea is for it to be intentionally ugly, so it's very cheap to edit. Oh, and there's an admin in the facility, so a facility would edit their own details, and they would invite their own staff to join and log in. So there could be potentially more than one staff member running a facility, and they'd each have their own login. If anything pink is unimplemented yet, and just a sketch. So that's a sketch, and go and have a play yourself. While I'm editing it, it changes all the time. So I'll give you the URLs, and that's where we're at. So